Coming up on Your Money and Your Life, how you can start a side hustle and boost your income. Times are tough, so is it time for investors to look at defensive stocks? Financial infidelity. Is your partner cheating on you financially? Plus, in Kochie's Budget Challenge, we help a single first home buyer get ahead. G'day and welcome to Your Money and Your Life, the show that's all about saving, spending, investing, and most of all, enjoying your money. My mission is to make sure you make the very most of your cash, that you are getting the very best deals on everything from home loans and insurance to credit cards and petrol. With the sudden cost of living increases, it's making it harder than ever to make ends meet. When you've cut costs as much as possible, you may need to increase your income to balance the family budget. That doesn't necessarily mean evenings spent stacking shelves at your local supermarket, like I did. Is there a side hustle you can monetize to make some extra cash? To find out where to begin, I'm joined by e-commerce coach Paul Waddy. Paul, you do a side hustle newsletter, you've got a side hustle course. How do you get started in a side hustle?
Thanks, Kochie. The 4 phases that I think people go through is the product research phase, or the idea. So do I have an idea? Is it decent? How do I validate it? The next stage is moving on to business planning. How much money do I need? Do I have a budget? What is a budget? The next phase is what I would call the hype phase. I'm really doing this. Family and friends, everybody, I'm about to launch. And then the 4th phase, I've launched. What now? What I call the scale phase.
Okay, do you need to come up with something new? Or can you get on a bandwagon? Or is it as easy as just driving an Uber? There are so many different ways.
My wife always says, when I suggest, why don't you do an online business? She said, all the good ideas are taken. And I stop her there and I say, you don't need a new idea, you just need a better idea. So you can take an old idea and put a modern solution on it. Take the example of Australian fashion brand Zimmerman that was recently valued at over $1 billion. They started as a side hustle. They started at the markets there in Paddington, and they certainly didn't invent women's fashion. In fact, that's the most crowded part of the market, really, the retail market. But what they did was found a way to make it different. So they took swimwear, fused it with fashion, and were one of the very first to create this resort wear. So that's just an example of how starting a little side hustle, putting a twist on it, you don't have to build a rocket ship that takes people to the moon. Maybe you just focus on something that improves people's lives a small way each day.
Does it cost a lot to start a side hustle?
Well, it depends. From my experience, I've got people that come in and say, I want to make $50,000 a month from month 1. And I say, well, you probably need $200,000 to start that business. Or I've got other people who say, look, I've got an idea to create a little jewelry brand. I'd be happy with $5,000 a month. And they could probably do that with $3,000 or $4,000. So there's a model for all budgets and all sizes.
Some great ideas to get us started. Thanks very much, Paul.
Pleasure.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
Now to Kochie's Budget Challenge. Every week, with the help of the team at Compare the Market, we're going to help average Aussies find the very best deal on their biggest bills and save them thousands of dollars and hopefully change their lives. So let's meet Innes. Innes is a Sydney IT professional who recently bought his first apartment. While he's mindful of rising interest rates, Innes wants to keep enjoying the lifestyle he loves. We paid a visit to see how we can help him stay ahead. Innes, how are you, mate? David, nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you, David.
Nice to meet you. Tell me about yourself.
I'm Innes. I live in Potts Point in Kings Cross in Sydney. I rent around here. I also have a mortgage at another location as well.
Right.
So quite a few happening financially.
You've got a double bunger there, rising rents and also rising interest rates on the property as well.
That's right.
Wow, that's a squeeze.
Yes, so I'm definitely getting squeezed on some stuff. So I need some help with how I can hit some of my savings goals this year.
Tell us about the pain points. Have you had to affect your life? Have you had to cut back on your lifestyle?
Yeah, definitely a little bit. You know, and electricity has gone up as well. So I'm keen to understand how I can reduce that bill too. But yeah, there's been a bit of cutback, not eating out as much.
Yeah.
I'm not cooking as much. either. That doesn't mean I'm increased that amount, but...
So you're trimming down.
well, yes.
So what are your goals to achieve out of any savings? Because I reckon savings for saving's sake is really boring. If you've got some goals, obviously the property side is one.
The fun goal is to get to Europe for a month this year.
Right.
The unfun goal would be anything left over from any savings I could push into my super, maybe into my mortgage as well.
Right.
And just make those things a little less scary and big, hanging over my head.
Okay, all right. Well, that gives us some goals to try and achieve to help you on your way. Let's go up and see if we can
Awesome.
help.
Thank you.
After the break, we talk shares and the benefits of a defensive stock in your portfolio as insurance against an economic downturn. Welcome back to Your Money and Your Life. Well, higher interest rates are expected to take a toll on the economy as well as inflation this year, with growth likely to slow and unemployment tipped to rise. So let's find out how you can build a defensive portfolio and make some money on the share market this year. Joining me is Josh Barker from Macro Capital. Josh, it's important for everybody to have a few defensive stocks in their portfolio, isn't it? Just as protection.
Yeah, I think given the uncertainty that we've seen and going to see, it's never a bad idea. Often the defensive stocks are really high quality businesses and management as well. So always bodes well to have those quality and defensive names in the portfolio.
Okay, all right, let's start. You've got 3 defensive stocks for us. What's your first one?
So in terms of in the Australian market, if you're looking for consistency in revenues, I think Transurban, the toll provider company here in Australia and overseas, is hard to go past. I think that they've been really consistent even in a recovery from the lockdowns, and one of the strongest areas of their business has been the tolls that they're getting on trucks. So that activity is still flowing through.
Okay, Transurban number 1. Next one.
Secondly is a business that I think would be in a great position to take advantage of potentially tough times, and that's Soul Patts, SOL. So they're a really strong management team. They've proven over time to consistently deliver shareholder wealth, and one of the ways that they've done that, and probably likely to do again this year, is by picking up assets and transitioning into different areas. They've transitioned into credit with these higher interest rates, so they're benefiting there, but also just picking up really quality assets, ideally at cheap prices, and then that comes onto their business. Long-term shareholder.
So they're sort of a listed investment company that invest in all sorts of businesses, really good at it. Your third stock?
A bit different, but Aristocrat Leisure. So one of the sectors that's always been quite consistent through a recessionary environment is lottery and gambling. They've got a really good foothold on the Australian market, but they're really globally diverse. So we've seen them pick up one of the leading iLottery businesses in the US. They picked that up for about 15 times earnings. The market values Aristocrat at 24 times, so should get that immediate uptick, and its earnings accretive straight away.
So Aristocrat, poker machine manufacturer, online lottery, you impose your own ESG filters on it. We're just giving you investment potential here. Josh, 3 really great stocks, Transurban, Washington H, Soul Patts and Aristocrat. Mate, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, if you're interested in share investing, I host a daily show called The Call on the Ausbiz streaming network, where I put 10 stocks suggested by viewers to an expert panel for their views on whether to buy, hold or sell. And Josh is a regular on it as well. Haven't refinanced for a few years? You could be on what we call a back book rate. If you're not sure what that is, it's because lenders don't want you to know. Competitive rates are used to attract new borrowers, while loyal customers like you often pay more. Compare the Market looked at rates for the Big Four and found an average difference of 1.96% between front book and back book offers. That means a person with a $750,000 loan could potentially be saving over $1,000 a month by switching from a rate of 8.54% to 6.58%. Comparing a number of different lenders will help you find a competitive offer. If you've paid off more of your loan and have greater equity, banks will look on that more favourably and you might be able to access even better deals. And look for features like an offset account that could help you save more over time. Go to comparethemarket.com.au for more. After the break, financial infidelity. How to spot a cheater in your relationship. Welcome back to Your Money and Your Life. Well, would you believe 30% of Australians have confessed to keeping financial secrets from their partner? Things like secret bank accounts and credit cards, or a secret gambling habit. Lying to your partner about finances is a red flag, and in serious cases may even be considered financial abuse in a relationship. To find out how you can spot a financial cheater, I'm joined by Betsy Westcott, financial wellness coach. Betsy, break it down for us, because it's scary for a lot of people in a relationship, and I reckon we all know someone who's been caught from this. What's financial infidelity?
Well, it occurs where there is a couple that have joint finances and one of the partners lies, misuses, or hides money without the other partner's knowledge and consent. And with those examples that you listed there, the severity can range. You know, there's the, I have a little secret purchase, not too big, one-off, to gambling away the family finances or misusing money in risky investments that can seriously impact not only the trust and the emotional intimacy of your relationship, but your financial well-being and security.
So what are the long-term impacts, do you reckon?
Well, it does those two things, erodes trust and then impacts financial well-being. So what that looks like is that perhaps it undermines your ability to achieve your financial goals. Perhaps it stops you from being able to meet your everyday needs, pay the bills. It could go as so far as preventing you from borrowing money, affecting your credit score, to extreme cases where someone might come along and repossess your assets. And like you said, in some of these situations, if the behaviour does equate to coercive control, financial abuse, that can have some very serious penalties for the perpetrator too.
So what are the red flags? How can you pick a financial cheater?
There's quite a wide range. So it could start with something like someone's really secretive or quite defensive when it comes to discussing money. Their spending might just not align with their income. You're like, this doesn't make sense, what's going on here? You might see statements for bank accounts, credit cards that you don't recognise. They might be really defensive and stonewall you when you try to have a conversation about money. Or
Okay, like the, oh, don't you trust me? When you ask for an explanation on what's going on financially, I reckon that common phrase, don't you trust me, is the one where you go, okay, I should be worried here.
Absolutely, you should be worried. And I think a lot of people use the like, oh, don't worry, honey, I'll take care of this, as a grand gesture of love. But actually what they're doing is they're controlling you and keeping you in the dark. And, you know, I think when it comes to money, you've got to have those strong, open conversations. It's fine to delegate responsibilities, but you must never abdicate your knowledge and awareness around, and power, responsibility around what's happening, because the moment you do that, that's when you hand over control of your life.
How do you recover?
Well, first of all, if there has been this kind of breach, you first need to acknowledge it. People really need to openly, candidly say, okay, this is what's gone on. Then you need to set some ground rules. How are we going to come together as a financial team? How are we going to manage our money? How are we going to make financial decisions going forward? And then set up a regular check-in, a money date, if you will. Make it fun, you know. You talk about the wine and the cheese and crackers, I like that. So set that up, make it regular. And in those meetings, you talk about the decisions you're making, checking in how you're going, and really aligning behind some goals, you know, something that's going to motivate you and inspire you. And once you get that on track, make sure you're weaving a little bit of fun in there to build that trust and intimacy and you know, re-establish some goodwill.
It is such an important issue. Betsy, thanks for going through it with us. Appreciate it. For more, Betsy and I produced an online course on fighting financial stress. Go to Cuppa TV to find out more. After the break, Kochie's budget challenge with Innes, who bought his first apartment just as interest rates started to surge. Welcome back to Your Money and Your Life. Well, the housing shortage continues to push property prices a lot higher, but there are still some bargains out there. New data from Ray White shows us the most affordable suburbs in our major cities. When it comes to housing, Perth is the winner. The suburb of Baldivis had close to 500 sales under $750,000 last year. Meanwhile, very few houses traded under that mark in Canberra, Sydney or the Gold Coast. And where can you find city apartments selling for less than $500,000? Well, almost 900 units sold in the Melbourne CBD for less than $500,000 last year, followed by the suburbs of Perth and Brisbane and Liverpool in Sydney. So good house hunting. Let's return to first home buyer Innes. We've gone through his bills with the experts at Compare the Market to see if we can find better deals. Here's what we found. All right, Innes, we've been through your bills. Let's see if we can get you on that European holiday and ease the interest rate burden and the rent burden you're carrying at the moment. How do you think we'll go? Have you got any expectations?
I think we're going to do all right.
All right.
I think some of my bills are a bit too high.
Okay, what gives you that feeling, do you think?
I can just feel it in my waters.
Well, let's start with your home loan.
Yeah.
It's a really good rate. Got an offset account attached to it, which is really interesting because I reckon most people take offset accounts for granted. And it's worth thinking about how you use them. If you use your offset account, say to build your emergency fund up and save up and put 25 grand into an offset account at 6%, that will cut 3 years from the term of your loan and $100,000 of interest over that 30-year loan.
Wow.
A lot of money.
That is a lot. I didn't know that at all.
Yep.
That's actually phenomenal.
But then if you're really good, got a lot of spare cash, and say put $1,000 a month into the offset account on top of it, it will cut your loan by 9 years, so almost a third on a 30-year loan, and you'll save $330,000 in interest over that term.
I'm going to start doing that.
After
That's
tax.
phenomenal.
This is just a thought starter. You've got to weigh it up yourself, but why have it in a 4% interest earning account
Exactly.
or a 4% term deposit, which you pay tax on the interest, when you stick it in an offset account and can draw down on it whenever you like, maybe for a holiday or something like that sometime in the future. Now, your energy bill. You pay a lot in energy, let me tell you.
I thought I did.
But it's really interesting. On your energy bills, do you get paper or digital?
Digital.
Okay,
So
all right.
we're on the laptop.
Oh, you've got it here. Okay. So a lot of people don't understand. Every statement comes with that little panel here that says, could you save money on another plan? And it tells you that you could be saving $310 from the same energy provider just by switching plans within the energy provider. And all you got to do is ring that number or go online to do it. So
I didn't even think to look at the bill.
no one does. No one does. I haven't found one person who has seen that. So that's an easy $300
Right.
bucks to do it.
Yeah.
So that's with the same provider. But the Compare the Market team have looked at other providers. They've found plans that would suit you that are 21% less off the reference price and also include a $200 credit as well.
Wow, that is a big saving.
And the final thing is your health insurance. You look like a young whippersnapper, but you are over the age of 30 now, so you're susceptible, if you don't have hospital insurance, of paying the Medicare surcharge on top of it. Have you got coverage?
I do.
What have you got?
The basic,
Right?
very basic with dental and I think ambulance.
So your coverage doesn't count for offsetting the surcharge.
Really?
So you've got a beautiful set of teeth anyhow. So roughly, and just a rule of thumb, you're probably paying a $2,000 surcharge a year, even now on your tax, even though you think you're not, because you've got this dental coverage.
Okay, wow.
So if you take out one of the lower tiers hospital cover, say bronze hospital cover, which covers you for hundreds of procedures, will cost you about $1,600 a year.
Okay.
So that's still less, a lot less, than the surcharge you're paying at the moment. So hopefully we've helped.
Been a huge help, especially around the Medicare surcharge. I had no idea, so I'm really glad we had this conversation. But even the $300 on the energy bill is going to be fantastic. And yeah, I'm going to put even more money in the offset.
Good. And then you'll get to Europe.
Fantastic.
Ines, thanks for having you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Well, that's it from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Money and Your Life. For all the latest money and investment news that you need to know, go to ymyl.com.au, and while you're there, subscribe to my free email newsletter, which is delivered to your inbox every Friday. See you next time. Next week on Your Money and Your Life, should you consider buying property through a self-managed super fund? Are agricultural stocks a good investment? And how to boost your super balance if you've had time out of the workforce.